Yo, what is up guys? And today we're going to be talking all about the unit that you see on your screen over here, Vildred, because most of you guys probably have him from the selective summon or actually pulled him from the banner. If you guys didn't pull for him yet, he's definitely a unit I recommend because he is so versatile and so very strong in both PvE and PvP content. Now let's just look at his skills very quickly. His S3 is just an AoE attack that will also do more damage based on his own speed. You can soul burn this for a very cheap 10 souls only, and it will do an extra amount of damage. Next we have his S2. I know it's a lot of text, but it's very simple. Basically, whenever an enemy is defeated by his S1 or his S3, he'll actually get an attack buff for himself for 2 turns and also activate Dancing Blade. Now, Dancing Blade is an AoE attack which deals a considerable amount of damage, but not nearly as much as like his S3 or his S1, but still a very good AoE attack. Now, you're also going to see whenever an enemy is defeated, you're also going to get CR push. Now, this CR push does not matter if he kills the target or not. As long as an enemy dies, he'll get CR pushed, making him very good in like cleave setups for PvP, and also in bosses that actually constantly spawn adds, because he'll be constantly CR pushing himself, even if he's not the one killing that unit. Next, we have his S1. It is a 2 target attack that will also increase with his speed. So you're going to see all of his skills scale with speed, but that doesn't necessarily make him an opener, guys. You want to build him decently fast, but not try to make him a unit that you want to take the first turn with, because he doesn't really do anything except deal damage and actually CR push himself. So if he doesn't want to be an opener, what is he good at? So starting with PvE, guys, he's a very good AoE damage dealer. His S3 is AoE. His S2 is also AoE when it activates, and his S1's 2 targets, which is basically AoE, especially in adventure mode because there's only 3 enemies on the right side usually. And also you're going to see that it's very easy to activate his S2 as well, as long as you can kill units. So he's very good at adventure mode. If you're looking to farm a lot of AP during like events where you get bonus AP from side story and adventure, he's very good because he has so much AoE damage. If you actually make him the fastest on your team, which is very nice because he actually scales with speed anyways, and he can kill an enemy with his S1 and then S2 and then kill an enemy with that, you're going to just see that he can constantly, clear waves very quickly without anyone else on your team taking a turn and taking up more time, making your runs very quick and way more efficient for farming AP. He's also very good, like I said, in scenarios where bosses have a lot of AoE mobs. He's very good in like Banshee, in the ad phase. He's also one of the best damage dealers for Azumnak because of the fact that he's constantly getting attack buff with his S2. He's constantly getting the CR push when the eggs die. And when you actually kill an egg with his S1 or his S3, you can actually activate Dancing Blade and get the other egg very low. Extremely powerful. Also good in Ancient Inheritance. And for the most part, just in general, if you're looking for a good AoE damage dealer, he's a very good bet to have because he does a lot of damage. You can even use him in like Golem and he's not that bad either. Now for PvP, guys. So PvP, he is actually not only is a very good unit in PvE as an AoE damage dealer and like a fodder farmer and stuff like that, adventure mode farmer, but in PvP, he is one of the best late game PvP units, especially if you like to cleave. Now, if you like to cleave and you like to take the first turn, not even just cleaving, guys, if you like to speed contest and try to take the first turn with units like Conquer Ilias, with like Ran, with like a mid, or even like Lua, who's a very good unit, he is extremely powerful, especially when you get his imprints up. And that is because his imprint is speed imprint. It'll give up to 12 speed to your entire team, and that is a huge amount, especially in the late game when you're looking at speed differences of only like 5 speed, especially once you get to like 300, 290 speed plus when you're contesting for the first turn, making him a very good unit. You can pick him in Guild Wars to guarantee that you take the first turn, and you can also pick him in World Arena if you're looking to speed contest, right? If you pick like a Lua, the enemy team answers with another opener like Assassin Sid or Green Sid, you can actually pick Green Vildred here and actually speed contest with him because his speed imprint will actually make your opener even faster. Now, keep in mind, guys, you actually need imprints to make this work. So in the early game, you won't really benefit from this too much, but over time, you're going to see once you get into the late game, you start pulling from more copies, whether it be from random summons or from his banner. You're going to see that once you get to that 8, 10, 12 speed benchmark or like point, you can see that it makes a huge difference, and speed imprints also stack, so having Vildred available is very nice to have for your speed imprints. Also, guys, in the early game, he's a very good cleaver, even in the late game, because he does a lot of damage if you soul burn his S3, and his stats are pretty low for a cleaver, right, because of the fact that if you have an opener that can one-shot an enemy, he actually CR pushes himself with his S2, 25%, pretty huge, which makes him pretty, strong at cleaving, and the fact that you can soul burn his S3 and kill like just a squishy unit, and you can activate your S2 after with attack buff, makes it so that he's a very good cleanup unit in that regard. Now for his sets and for his stats, guys, we're going to separate it into PvE and PvP. So my Vildred is currently on like a PvE set right now. I can technically use him in PvP if I actually change his artifact, but for the most part, it's going to be PvE. For PvE, guys, for the set, Very, very flexible. I have him on speed. Some guys like to run him on attack or crit damage. It works as well. Secondary set, I really recommend critical hit chance. It's just the best one for him because penetration doesn't work. He has no single target attacking abilities. Now, the thing is you want to make sure, especially if you use him in Azmonak, that he can one-shot eggs with his S1. If you can't reach that with like a speed set, you definitely want to run him on a more damage-oriented set, like, critical hit damage or attack, as long as he can one-shot the eggs. Now for his stats, guys, I like to aim for 3k attack at the very least for PvE. For speed, it doesn't really matter too much. You just want to make sure that he hits hard enough to kill those eggs, like I said, and he does a decent amount of damage. Now if you're fodder farming with him or adventure farming with him, you want him to be the fastest on your team to take that first turn, so you can actually clear the stages very fast without your other teammates taking turns. But for the most part, speed doesn't really matter too much as long as he's over like 160, I'd say. You can even put him slower for Azmonak if you want. For critical hit chance and critical hit damage, you want 100% crit chance, especially for Azmonak and for adventure mode, right? Critical hit damage, anything over 250% is okay, but you definitely want to aim a lot higher if you want to use him in Azmonak so you can one-shot the eggs, like I said, because, you definitely want to make sure you one-shot eggs with Vildred, otherwise there's not really a point to bring him there. Now, actually for defensive stats, I kind of want to talk about it because the area of content you use him in, especially Azmonak, right? You want your units to be, somewhat tanky. I definitely recommend at least 10k health. It's kind of weird for a damage dealing unit to be on health, but the area of content you use him in primarily, which is Azmonak for PvE, you're definitely going to want him at 10k health so he doesn't randomly die, because even with an Aureus holder, he can randomly die sometimes if he gets really bad RNG. Now for his artifact, guys, Daydream Joker is the best for PvE as per usual, and for his exclusive equipment, you want the S2 one because when you bring him into content with a lot of ads, you're going to see that he gets a lot of value with just that CR push from his Dancing Blade. Now for his PvP build, guys. So for PvP, you 100% want him on speed set. It's just the most value. You want him to, be decently fast. He can actually, cut with his S2 after your opener goes, and you can actually cut other openers, so like 240 speedish, and for that reason, you want him on like speed set. Secondary set, guys, the best is going to be Torrent set, the new set, because it'll boost his damage while making him squishier, but that doesn't really matter in PvP because you're just going to take one turn to win anyways. Vildred in PvP just kind of gets one shot by everything, so definitely want to make sure he's full damage and fast enough. If you don't have Torrent set, you can just use crit set like I have, it should work fine. Now, the only difference between PvP and PvE build is you don't really need any bulk on PvP, and also you definitely want to hit like at least 240 speed so you can actually cut with your S2 and actually, be able to, take your turn if your opener kills a unit. Even higher is more preferred, like 250, so you can actually outspeed like almost every opener, but looking for, 240 plus into 250 is what you want to go for. Then everything else goes into damage with at least 250% crit damage and 3k attack while maintaining 100% critical hit chance. Now for his artifact, guys, you actually want to run the Sword of Summer Twilight, which is his. It just gives him the most damage. And you're also going to see that when you kill an enemy, you can CR push your allies as well, making it so that you can chain CR push Vildred into your allies as well after he cleans up in case something is still alive. Otherwise, you can run like, Portrait of the Savior is very good. Elia's Knife is also very good as well if you don't have his artifact. All very good options as well. Now for his exclusive equipment, guys, instead of your S2, you're going to want to run the one that boosts the damage of the S3 because of the fact that you're only going to really take one turn, and this will make your soul burn S3 hit even harder, and also it's just better for him because you're only going to really take one turn, like I said, in Dancing Blade usually with your S2 after. Now for Mulagora, guys, it doesn't really matter too much, but if you're going to use him for PvP after my screen stopped freezing, we're going to actually see that you want him to have his S3 maxed out because, like I said, you're only going to really take one turn with his S3, and then your S2 should not really matter too much as long as your S3 does enough damage because of the fact that, you basically use him for his imprint anyways, and S2 and S1 don't really matter too much, but it's up to you. For PvE, guys, you definitely want to, max out his S1 and also his S2, especially for the eggs as well after you bring him into Azmonak and start using him there. So that's pretty much it for Vildred, guys. He's a pretty decent unit, very, very good for PvE and PvP. I definitely recommend, if you have him, to build him because you can use him in so many areas of content, whether it be PvE and PvP. And just keep in mind, you definitely want to hold on to every single copy like you do with most units, but you want to try to make sure you use all of his imprints for green Vildred. If you have multiple Vildred copies and you have Vildred and Arbiter Vildred, I would still recommend using it on green Vildred because his imprint is way better, and honestly green Vildred is just better than Arbiter Vildred right now, especially for PvP where imprints will matter the most. That being said, I hope you found this video helpful, guys. I'll be releasing more videos after my exams end, but for now there's not really too much content being released anyway, so not really much to cover, but I'll be coming out with more videos, especially with units that are featured on the banners and how you want to build them, in case you guys actually pull for those units. That being said, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.